And we're back with more Incredible Hopes. I am Chris.
I'm Mark.
And today we will be discussing the NFL Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame? Hall of Fame?
Yes, not Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame class of 2016. Who they'll be inducing into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, inducting there in Canton, Ohio.
I guess July, like late July.
No,
early August.
No, it's August.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just get the names out of the way. So we'll just list them.
Yeah, here we go.
Brett Favre, Favre, Marvin Harrison, Kevin Green, Orlando Pace, Tony Dungy, Dick Stanfield, who I have no idea who Dick Stanfield is, Ken Stabler, and Eddie DeBartolo Jr.
Dick Stanfield that was from the senior committee. So pretty much if you're 60 and over, you probably know who he is.
Well, let's just start there. Don't know who he is. I don't really have anything to say about him. I like Ken Stabler being there just because he played for the Oilers for a while, so I'm all about that. I'm happy with that.
The old Raider, he was a scrappy guy.
Eddie DeBartolo Jr., I mean, I ain't too high on that one because he was a Niner and they can go to hell.
Yeah, he owned the 49ers through the Bill Walsh and
they cheated that year. What was
Steve
that
Young
year?
era.
94? 94 they cheated.
Actually, they cheated several times.
But particularly they cheated.
They finally got busted in '96 because of that deal they made for that tight end, whose name escapes me right now.
So let's stick to the others. Now we got those kind of the names I didn't really care about talking about out of the way.
Okay.
Let's start with the others. Let's start with Tony Dungy. Your thoughts?
Well, I think one of the things he did was popularizing the whole Tampa 2 defense.
Mm-hmm.
That innovation as far as coverages. You know, when offenses started doing more spread offenses, getting a lot more receivers out there, his defensive schemes really helped defenses keep up.
Yeah.
So that alone is worth a note. And he was a solid head coach in both Tampa Bay and Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Very few years, I think, that he actually missed playoffs. He had a good run there, so I'm totally on board with it. He was a good, solid coach.
He deserves to be in. I just hate it because he was in my division with Indy, and he just beat the crap out of us every year. But you gotta give the devil his due, and yeah, he deserves to be in. Personally, I'm like, yeah, he's good, but I
understand.
Orlando Pace, another guy who beat my team. He was a Rams left tackle, beat my team in the Super Bowl, my Tennessee Titans, but solid left tackle. Protected Kurt Warner's blind side in the greatest show on turf, and then kept that going with Mark Bulger. Man, he was just a solid kind of textbook.
Yeah,
he could play for anybody left tackle.
Yeah, you fit him on any team, he would have succeeded.
Kevin Green, this goes back more to a early 90s guy.
80s and 90s.
He was a sack machine for the Steelers and the Panthers. And what are your thoughts on Kevin Green?
He was a guy that he had a good motor. He reminded me of Randy White, and that they were both guys that had these motors where they were 4-quarter. They were able to for 4 quarters just give you the same intensity all the way through. And I think that was the secret to his game.
The only thing I'll say about Kevin Green was a great player. I have no beef with the guy, but we talked about this just before we rolled the show. He was one of those guys the media kept wanting to win a Super Bowl, and I think he was on that I think he was on that Steelers team in '95 the Cowboys beat. I think he was. I think he might have been on that team.
Yeah, didn't he do like a year or two in Pittsburgh, and then he went to Carolina? I think that's how
he played. The bulk of his career was at Pittsburgh, if I believe, and then he played several years in Carolina.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was one of those guys that never understood why the media wanted him to win. You'd always go, Kevin Green, oh man, he needs a Super Bowl. I'm like, well, why does he need it? Why doesn't, why does he need one and, somebody else doesn't?
Yeah, I don't know why the
Why didn't Will Shields then?
Yeah.
Like
just pick anybody. Yeah, anybody.
So Will Shields didn't?
Right.
Anyway, Marvin Harrison. Go ahead. First words on Marvin Harrison.
Part of one of the great QB receiving duos of all time, Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison.
Statistically is the best, isn't it? Or did he surpass it with...
I think Reggie Wayne and Peyton passed it.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that.
Okay.
They were close. But anyway, he was a great receiver, solid, very little chinks in that guy's game. I mean, he just always seemed to get open, and yards after the catch was kind of a given with the guy too.
Marvin Harrison was unstoppable, uncoverable. Again, played with the Colts and beat the crap out of my Titans every year. And there was one game where he made a one-handed catch up above our defender and came down with the ball, and it was like a 3rd and long, ridiculous situation, and he made this catch. And he was one of those guys that's like, there was nothing else our defense could have done. We did everything you could do, and he still makes this ridiculously awesome catch, and you're like, you can't even be mad. You just got like, well, that was amazing. He was one of those guys, you know.
And what's interesting, he in an era when we had the prima donna era of receivers, this guy was quiet. He never said anything. He would score and just go to
There was some shady stuff in his personal life. He might have killed somebody.
You know.
I mean, really, there's a thing in there. It's kind of shady. You've heard that story, right?
Well, we've heard that he's from the rough side of things, but
he might have murdered a guy, is all I know.
On the field and through his career, he was quiet and humble. So that's all I know.
He did break a guy's jaw like in a pre-game fight at one time.
Wow, did he really?
Yeah, he had like a mean streak apparently. He's like that quiet, mean guy.
Well, he always sat by himself on the sideline.
So he's just
But we're talking about just ability. The guy was,
in terms of football playing, he was amazing.
Yeah.
In personal life, he probably was a train wreck. Anyway, speaking of train wrecks, let's sum it up and ends it with Brett Favre.
Brett Favre.
Say what you want to say about Brett Favre.
Well, he's kind of Mr. Iron Man, isn't he? I mean, however, what was the record? I mean, it's over 360 games.
Ridiculous.
It was a regular amount that he played in a row. He has the record for most consecutive starts.
Right.
Anyway, for a quarterback, and he was just an amazing guy. He didn't know when to he didn't have any give up in him. He'd always keep fighting. So I will give him that.
Probably his biggest gift or asset or whatever was he could make a dead play into something as good as anybody ever could.
Yeah.
He could somehow pitch the ball underhanded to a guy, or I don't know. He just had some weird thing that he could make something out of nothing.
Yeah.
More times than not.
In a league that's had its share of improvisational quarterbacks, Favre probably is the greatest at that.
Yeah. I take some sort of weird, demented pleasure that his one Super Bowl win, he was not the MVP of. I just find some comfort in that. I'm very comforted by he never won a Super Bowl MVP. Oh, he got a ring, but he was not the MVP of that game.
Well, he got, 4 years in a row. And 1 year, I was really agitated because it was totally Barry Sanders. Should have got it by himself. And they did that co-MVP thing.
Yeah.
I think it was the first time they'd done that. And I was so mad.
He was a media darling.
I was like, what are you doing? Barry Sanders owned that this year. And now he had to share it.
Like 20 seconds. Who do you want in? Who's the guy that needs to be in? The bane of your existence, he's not in there.
Too Tall Jones. He was a sack he sacked quarterbacks For lunch, yes. They didn't do sack tallies back in the 70s and 60s. Had they done it, he probably would have had just as many as Kevin Green. Or more. So there you go.
Mine would be Terrell Davis. I'm not a Broncos fan, but it is obscene to me that he is not in with his credentials. And I know the cut short by injury thing, that is crap. Because what he did was so impressive. A Super Bowl MVP, a league MVP, 2 rings, broke 2,000 yards, and I will preach it to the day I'm dead, was the guy, not John Elway, that broke the 13-year AFC drought in the Super Bowl. That is why he means so much to me. So Terrell Davis is a absolute abomination, in my opinion, that he is not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
To me, it's invalid until he's in.
Yeah. I think it's time to do it.
Time to do it.
Get him in.
And speaking of time to do things, it's time to end our show. And with that, adieu.